Politics has no part to play on the field of strife of competition.
Throughout history, we've been told that sports and politics don't mix.
Listen, okay? I'm an athlete. I win or I lose.
Do you think that sports people should take more of a political view?
No, I don't.
We've been told that in the arena of sport, it's all about things like achievement, athletic performance, competition, individualism, teamwork. Playing the game and playing it well is all that matters.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a chilly night.
And yet, everywhere we look, there seems to be a strange contradiction of this no politics rule. Prominent and powerful displays of nationalism and patriotism and military might that seem nothing if not political. All of it set against politics of an entirely different kind throughout the history of sport. Performances and actions patriotic in their own right, and seemingly in keeping with one of the oldest credos of athletics, to do one's best with respect for others and the rules of the game without fear. This is a film that takes sports seriously as a cultural force, a shared social space, and a political force that reflects and in turn shapes our often conflicting ideas and beliefs about who we are, how we view others, and how we see ourselves as a country. I'm Dave Zirin, and I love sports. I grew up idolizing guys like Lawrence Taylor, Gary Carter, and Magic Johnson. I played baseball in high school and was the starting center on my basketball team, the Fightin' Quakers at New York Friends. My God, we were terrible. But sports were my life, and like most young boys in this country, one message was fed to me every time I took the field or watched a game. And it's a message that's only grown stronger with time. What Howard Cosell called rule number one of the jockocracy. The idea that sports and politics just don't mix. We're all supposed to just kick back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena.
But for me, all of that changed back one day in the early 1990s. I'll never forget it. I went to Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena, to watch a basketball game. It was during the lead up to the first Gulf War in 1991. And at halftime, I kid you not, one of the mascots started to beat up this guy who was wearing this Arab costume. And the Jumbotron was whipping the crowd up into a frenzy, getting everybody to chant, USA, USA, USA. I mean, it was sick. I came to watch a game, but I got served something else entirely. This was about as explicit a political spectacle as you could imagine. And I basically made a career out of trying to understand that murky place where sports and politics collide. As a writer...
To discuss athletes and activism, we now welcome Dave Zirin, author and sports editor of The Nation magazine.
As a commentator on ESPN and other major networks, and in my sports radio show.
Yo, we got a hell of a show this week. Yo, this is where sports and politics collide.
And one of the first things I discovered was that sports is political in ways we don't often even notice, especially on the level of culture, where our ideas and attitudes as a society are shaped. Historians have long known that you can find out a lot about the wider culture by looking at its sports culture. And history has taught us that sports is never just something that we just sit back and watch. That sports always have had an important social function. And the history of American sports is no different. As in the far distant past, modern American sports culture shapes cultural attitudes, norms, and power arrangements. And it also serves as a key place to look if you want to understand how these norms and power structures have been negotiated, resisted, struggled with, and against. It's here where societal and cultural meanings play out, our very notions of who we are and how we see each other, not only as Americans, but as individuals, as boys and girls, and men and women, ideas about gender and race and class. And as we'll see, sports culture produces stories that become the dominant narratives that makes certain ways of seeing the world normal, conventional, just the way it is, while at the same time actively trying to silence anything or anybody who doesn't fit in this accepted frame. We have to start then with what the big-time sports world is like at its seemingly most normal and natural.
I don't know. I saw daylight and I was going through, coach, and this guy grabbed my arm and tore my arm off, and I fumbled the ball. What? Tore my arm off! So it's a little injury, is it? You can't play hurt, is that what you're trying to tell me, you crane pup?
More than anything else, the world of sports has traditionally been thought of as a male arena.
This is rough, hard football.
We got a bunch of proud, valiant warriors.
Fight! That's all I've asked you to do, is fight for me with everything you're worth.
An arena where a certain kind of manhood holds sway.
Phenomenal performance from the muscle man from down below.
Masculine, pumped up, comfortable with violence, immune to pain, and against showing vulnerability of any kind.
What are you doing out there? Buckle up chin straps, prima donnas!
Sports culture offers up role models for what it means to be a man, and real men will do whatever it takes to win.
Winning is everything.
Whether that means taking steroids to hit more home runs, or pitching on a bloody ankle, sports culture tells us that real men are willing to sacrifice their bodies for the team. They play with pain, they man up, they shake it off, they get back in the game.
It's gonna take a physical investment. When it hurts, you're sore, you're tired, guess what? Nobody gives a
And nothing embodies and reproduces this masculine ideal better or more effectively than NFL football.
Never show weakness. Never show weakness. Only pain that matters is the pain you inflict.
Being masculine means being able to inflict pain and to endure it, no matter how violent and without regard for the consequences.
I'm Julius Caesar, and you're gonna look over at me. You're gonna look over at me. May God have mercy on them, because we won't. Let's go!
This warrior image moves beyond personal identity to link up with and reinforce larger forces and values in the culture, most notably militarism.
We're going to cut out their living guts and use them to grease the treads of our tanks. We're going to murder those lousy Hun bastards by the bushel.
In football, the object is for the quarterback, otherwise known as the field general, to be on target with his aerial assault, riddling the defense by hitting his receivers with deadly accuracy, in spite of the blitz, even if he has to use the shotgun. With short bullet passes and long bombs, he marches his troops into enemy territory, balancing this aerial assault with a sustained ground attack which punches holes in the forward wall of the enemy's defensive line.
And the militarization of sports culture might be even funnier if so many guys didn't take it so literally.
It's war. They don't give a freaking, you know what, about you. They will kill you. They're out there to kill you. If I didn't hurt him, he'd hurt me. They're gunning for my legs. I'm gonna come right back at him. Soldier.
Professional sports leagues actively promote this idea, making it so commonplace in our culture that we don't even notice it. We don't even question it.
Gentlemen, congratulations and welcome to Super Bowl 43. General David Petraeus will toss the coin.
But when you stop and think about it, it's actually downright bizarre how militarized sports culture has become. And it's not just the National Football League. I went to a baseball game a few years back, and it turned out I was also attending something called Military Appreciation Night. Before the opening pitch, with George W. Bush in attendance, a whole group of Marines were sworn in at home plate. Then the PA announcer came in and said, "For those of you in the audience who also want a career in the military, please visit the appropriate kiosk." If going to war isn't political, then nothing is. And yet this mix of sports and politics seems perfectly natural to us. We're made to think it's not political at all, that it's just the way it is. And this is how ideology works. It naturalizes ideas and images that deflect attention away from other realities. And this is where it really starts to matter.
Many people who follow professional football were saddened to learn last week that the Hall of Fame center Mike Webster died at the age of 50 after years of combat on the field. He had heart disease and brain damage. However, it is hard to find a former pro football player whose body hasn't paid a very high price.
The dominant narrative in sports culture presents a narrow, glamorized view of militarism and violence that conceals many of the costs and consequences of this fictionalized ideal of male invulnerability.
You do feel like you are Superman because, like I said, you can do anything you want, you can get anything you want, you can go anywhere you want to go.
In the militarized spectacle of football especially, there seems to be no room for the statistical fact that this sport takes a terrible toll on the human body.
I've had 1, 2, 3 right ankle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right knee surgery, and
6 out of 10 former players say they have suffered at least one concussion while playing.
The average NFL career is 3.5 years, and the average player will die 20 years sooner than the rest of the population. 20 years. All of which raises the question, does the cartoon version of violence we see in American sports culture sanitize and lie about the real-life consequences of violence? And most importantly, if sports glamorize war, if they in effect deceive us about the reality and tragedy of war, are we looking at a form of propaganda here?
Shoots it over the middle, and whoa, what a hit! Pat Tillman knocked the helmet off of Isaac Byrne.
It's a question NFL star Pat Tillman would have been very interested in. It's as though being political in itself is somehow antithetical to being an athlete or a sports fan, that somehow caring about what goes on in the world or questioning and wondering and thinking critically about the role sports plays in the wider culture is somehow abnormal, uncool, and unmanly. And it's just this attitude that throughout the history of American sports has marginalized entire groups of people.